You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. The big news this week for LSU football is that, of course, Jayden Daniels has transferred to LSU from Arizona State. And almost incredibly, outside of Bama and Georgia, which, of course, played for the national championship this past year, and both of their incumbents return with Bryce Young and Stetson Bennett, the other 12 teams in the conference, 8 of those 12, 8 of the 12 are likely to be quarterbacked this year by transfers. How about that? It's almost hard to believe that's the reality, but that's where we are right now as a league, as a sport, and the nature of that position. But I started thinking today, all right, with Jayden Daniels at LSU, I was asked yesterday, how much better does that make LSU? Does LSU go for quarterback's the most important position on the field? It's really the only position that's going to swing a Vegas line, whether a quarterback's playing or not playing, or if you add a player like that. And I really was thinking, will the addition of Jayden Daniels affect LSU's projected win total or their season outcome? And I'm not so sure that it does. We'll talk more about that clearly as we get closer to the season. But it was interesting when you put Jayden Daniels next to the other transfers to see how it compares. So I wanted to do that. Let's take a look at the Southeastern Conference and all of the transfer quarterbacks and how Jayden Daniels compares.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
All right, so Will Levis, this is a little bit of an asterisk because he quarterbacked Kentucky last year, but he's a Penn State transfer. So he is still a transfer quarterback that's starting at Kentucky. 2 years ago in 2020, Kentucky was in the triple digits nationally in offense. Last year, they made it just outside of the top 50. That's not going to win them any division title or anything of significance, but if Will Levis can continue to improve, then certainly Kentucky's offense will follow suit as well.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
I think we can all agree Bryce Young, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, is the best quarterback in the SEC. Is Hendon Hooker the second best quarterback in the SEC? Virginia Tech transfer, and I get it, part of the numbers are the offense he played in, but Hendon Hooker threw for 29, and remember, he didn't even start the whole season. They had Joe Milton there last year as well. 2,945 yards, 31 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. 31 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and completed just over 68% of his passes. Hendon Hooker and Tennessee come to Baton Rouge this year, and he may be the second best quarterback in this conference.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
Spencer Rattler. Yo, I ain't gonna say I told you so, even though I'm really good at that. I'm telling you I told you so. Last year, when everybody was doing their way too early mock drafts and everybody had Spencer Rattler as the number 1 overall pick, and I said, I will be damned if my team uses the first pick on Spencer Rattler. Not only is he not going to be a first pick, he ain't even in the draft, he ain't even at that school anymore. Transfers to South Carolina. Maybe this is the fresh start anew that Spencer Rattler needs. And he's a guy that's thrown for 4,500 yards in his career and 40 touchdowns. He's completed 70% of his passes in his career. In large part, that was the offense he was in there with Lincoln Riley. But that's a guy that does not protect the football, and that certainly doesn't, in my opinion, have the demeanor to be a championship caliber quarterback. You can have Spencer Rattler.
The Florida Gators.
So Emory Jones said he was going to enter the portal, and then never did. Anthony Richardson is back as well. Freak show athlete. But Jack Miller is there. Jack Miller was a transfer from Ohio State. Now, that's another asterisk right there because he may not win the job. I mean, Emory Jones may still be there. Anthony Richardson certainly could win the job. But Jack Miller's a guy who hasn't played. We don't know anything about him, but another transfer that is in the league.
the Ole Miss Rebels.
You can maybe say the same about Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart is a former 5-star, played at USC this past year, has a high ceiling, but doesn't have a giant sample size. So what really do we know of Jackson Dart? The benefit of the doubt that Jackson Dart is going to get is playing in Lane Kiffin's offense. If he can follow the same path that Matt Corral did, then I can understand why people would be high on Jackson Dart. But until he does, it's hard to know what to expect out of him. But he is very likely going to be the guy, unless if second-year freshman Luke Altmaier wins that job.
The Texas A&M Aggies.
Well, this is a guy we know well. Of course, it's Max Johnson, who is now in College Station. Haynes King is still there as well. They'll battle for the starting job, but I doubt very seriously that Max Johnson left Baton Rouge to go be a backup. And Jimbo, of course, knew what he had in Haynes King when he went and signed Max Johnson, which, of course, showed Zach Calzada the door. This is going to be one of the more fascinating quarterback rooms. Johnson, last year, threw 27 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Of course, those numbers dropped dramatically when Kayshon Boutte was injured. The question is, how good can Max Johnson be? We saw him be, at times, a steadying presence here. We also saw him make errant throws and be pressured and throw off his back foot and make some mistakes. How much can he grow under Jimbo Fisher, and who is he throwing the ball to in College Station is a really big question. They obviously lose their top 2 running backs. They lose 3 starters on the offensive line. What is it going to be like in A&M that they surround Max Johnson with? I don't know necessarily that I could say LSU. I'd have to use a double negative. I think I might say LSU upgraded with Jayden Daniels over Max Johnson. Time will tell, but A&M probably is the better supporting cast 1-85 around Max Johnson.
The Auburn Tigers.
And boy, they've been really good at adding quarterbacks, haven't they? Of course, they got TJ Finley over there. Remember, Bo Nix transferred out. Robbie Ashford transferred in from Oregon. And Zach Calzada from Texas A&M transferred in as well. So, not exactly sure who is going to win that starting job there on the Plains. That's going to be really interesting to see how that quarterback room goes. But I'm high on Finley's potential, his athleticism, his ability, his arm strength. Zach Calzada, y'all, is just not a good player. I mean, we saw Zach Calzada last year at Texas A&M, and he came up with a really nice game against Alabama, but that was a one-game sample, and outside of that was not a very good player. And what really do we know about Robbie Ashford as well? So when you look at it as a whole, I don't know that Auburn is significantly better. They're certainly less experienced at the quarterback position, which then leaves you with LSU. Jayden Daniels, who started 29 games in his career, who's got over 30 touchdown passes as well. There's the incumbent. I told you I'm high on Hendon Hooker. In that offense, how good he was with the weapons he's going to have there as well, although they do lose their top 2 receiving targets. Hendon Hooker is probably at the head of the class. After Hendon Hooker, I think you kind of go coin flip Max Johnson and Jayden Daniels. One's more experienced, that's Daniels. One's had more success. One, you might argue, has the higher ceiling if he can grow into that offense, better supporting cast. But I really think that's what it'll come down to. After Hendon Hooker, I make a really strong argument that Jayden Daniels is the next best starting quarterback outside, again, of Georgia and Alabama, who played for the championship last year and that everybody's chasing right now. Fascinating times. I wonder if we're going to do that every single year with the quarterback position. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.